I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up gay culture. Supreme Court to decide if public preschools can exclude kids of LGBTQ plus parents nationwide. The case, St. Mary Catholic Parish in Littleton versus Roy, challenges Colorado's universal preschool program, which requires all participating providers, including religious schools, to follow non-discrimination rules covering sexual orientation and gender identity. On April 20th, the justices agreed to review the case. Arguments are expected starting in October, with a decision likely by June next year. Lower courts have upheld Colorado's policy, stating it applies equally to religious and non-religious providers. However, challengers argue the rule forces faith-based schools to choose between public funding and their religious beliefs. LGBTQ advocates warn that the outcome could impact families nationwide. Mardi Moore of Rocky Mountain Equality says the case raises concerns about taxpayer-funded programs potentially allowing discrimination. The ruling could set a national precedent on whether religious providers in public programs can turn away children based on their parents' identities. Well, there's a whole lot to unpack on that. I personally, and I'm sure I'm not alone, believe if a school is funded by taxpayer dollars, it has to be non-discrimination, and they have to support the community. That can't change. If that does change, we have a lot of work to do in our community. What do you all think?
And I think that this is especially insidious because they're not targeting the students' gender identity or gender identity or sexual orientation. You can say that, oh, I'm a Catholic school and I do not want gay kids here. Okay, I mean, it's a private school. It's up to you. I don't think that you should get public funds. But here it is about the parent's sexual orientation. This is beyond just the child. They do not care about the child welfare as much as they care about the sexual identity of the people who are raising the child,
Correct.
Which is, for me, particularly intrusive and particularly insidious. And also, Pope Leo, we're all big fans of you since, you yell at you-know-who. So, and I know that people, this current Catholic leaders have been trying to lean more of on the liberal side. Maybe, withdraw this lawsuit. I mean, it's not, the Archdiocese doesn't need to fight it.
Well, there is the point there of this does feel a little anti-Catholic, but to discriminate against kids that you would serve. But for me, the bigger issue, and I find Colorado politicians, when I am unfortunately have to deal with them occasionally, to be some of the worst Democrats in this country. Why on earth are you funding private schools and private and religious daycare centers to begin with? Whether we're talking about charter schools, private schools, religious schools, the government shouldn't be public only. That's how you make it simple. Just fund public schools properly and public preschools properly. That's how you should be doing it.
I was actually going to say the same thing. I mean, we have to disseminate here between public and private education. These are preschools. Mm-hmm. If it is a faith-based, more than likely it is being backed by their church, regardless if it's Protestant, Baptist, Catholic, Mormon, whatever. Typically, the people that are putting their preschool children, we're talking children that are 2, 3, and 4 years old, maybe sometimes 5 if they have to be aftercare from kindergarten. If you're going to a Catholic school, more than likely you're Catholic born, religious, and all that. So I agree with you. I mean, why are private institutions getting public funding? Part number one. Part number two. This is actually more than just a religious situation. This opens up the gates for anybody who gets public funding to be able to discriminate anybody for any reason.
Exactly. And we all know that's the hard right's end game on these sorts of laws.
So it's not just gay. Mm-hmm. It's not just transgender. It's I can now discriminate anybody. And it's hard to prove too, because there's so many people who who are trying to get their kids into kindergarten or preschool, and they sign up for their baby before the baby's even born to get in.
Wow.
And so they don't have to tell you. It's just kind of like anything else. Sorry, you apply for a job. They don't tell you why you got fired or you didn't get in so this is the same situation. Sorry, you don't qualify.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to tell you.
And I find that it's actually very interesting when you mention Colorado, is because I feel like there's a kind of this weird small government libertarian streak, despite the fact that Colorado has a very blue government and a state legislature.
They're corporatist Dems in Colorado. I can't stand dealing with them.
They are, you know, I feel like...
Including the gay governor.
Yeah.
I've found them to be very pro-business in compared to...
Governor Polis aside, which this is not about him really. It is about this kind of weird, like, anti-government streak that runs through the spirit, the culture out there. Or even in the culture
out there.
Yeah.
I mean, private funding, whether we're talking about federal contractors or charter schools, that's become rampant in this country, and that makes no sense.
If you're anti-government, you're not accepting public funding. You can't say I'm anti-government, but give me your money.
Well, but isn't that the same?
You think that, but they love the money one way or the other.
Everybody does. No one's going to turn down money, but at the same time, you can't say stay out of my business. But give me your money.
But isn't that the same mentality from the Tea Party days, when they're like, we need to cut down the entire federal government, and where's my Medicaid money?
Get your government hands off my Medicaid.
Well,
it's my favorite line.
I'm sure we'll be talking about this again in the near future. It seems to be trending, that's for sure. Well, there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.